Hello friends, this is Jim here with Science Talk and have two studies which to share with you. And this involves cloud forests. Now, cloud forests are kind of considered its own little ecosystem. What are cloud forests? These are high altitude rainforests. You have your rainforest, you go to the very high altitudes, a lot of species there. You have trees reaching higher and higher. So, you form this canopy. Not a lot of sunlight reaches the canopy floor because it's got the thick foliage up at very high, but it kind of creates its own little unique ecosystem. Typically found Central and South America. Well, it's possible they could be gone in 40 years. Researchers warn that within 25 years, global warming could dry up to 60 to 80% of these mountains, misty mountain forests of Mexico, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Peru, simply by dispersing the clouds to keep them ever moist and rich with plant, insect, and bird life. Now, I just posted a video not too long ago where I talked about ever increasing CO2 levels along with the temperature rises could actually dissipate clouds in toto. Well, this is sort of like along the findings of kind of that idea, although more specific for cloud forests. As the habitat alters, this could be this could do in monarch butterflies. Because where do they migrate to every year? The mountains of Mexico. The elfin woods warbler, found only in Puerto Rico, and other creatures that make their homes in these very rich, diverse ecosystems of the forest, they could be adversely impacted. So, these trees, they have, you think about what do they have? Ferns, lichens, mosses, epiphytes. Epiphytes are plants that grow actually on another plant. So it's not parasitic, they just grow on top of another plant. So they get some support, structural support, no nutrients, they're still doing their own photosynthesis, and again, they're not parasitic, but they just kind of hang out. So these clouds are going to disappear. They could disperse, they might move uphill, where if it's cooler uphill, then they can at least condense out, but they may move so far up in altitude that the canopies will be left exposed and bare. So this is research that's been published in the Public Library Science Journal, or PLOS One. Okay. And if humans continue to do what humans are continuing to do with burning the fossil fuel, the cloud and frost that keeps the equatorial cloud forest unique homes to living things will disappear. Yes, it does form frost at night when it cools down sufficiently because you are at high altitude. 9/10 of the cloud forest in the Western Hemisphere will have been lost by 2060 if the calculations funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Forest Service are correct. So researchers mapped cloud forests across the Western Hemisphere with data collected over the last 60 years, then used climate simulations to see how the habitat would change with time. They found that indeed some regions would become even more immersed in cloud, but this is only about 1%. For the most part, the clouds would thin, the steady supply of moisture would be reduced, and then that would change the nature of the forest. So this is not the first research to suggest that higher temperatures would affect cloud patterns. Right? I've shared some of them with you in other videos. Scientists using a different approach reported earlier this year that tropical cloud formation of the kind that damps down equatorial temperatures could be at risk. So think about it. You have cloud formation. It's going to be underneath there. It's going to be cooler. If you lose those clouds, you're going to have more heat reaching the ground, making it warmer, hotter. For example, researchers have used historic data to record the steady uphill march of trees in the Andean forest as they respond to the global temperatures increasing. Another team has warned that the increasingly violent winds, heavy rain that came with Hurricane Maria in 2017 and smashed into Puerto Rico would in any case change the makeup of forest species. Yeah, that makes sense. You smash the crap out of well, if you flatten down the forest, you don't have much. You're going to do the bad things to the creatures, the organisms that live there. This leads us to the second study from the American Geophysical Union, has confirmed that the extreme rainfall that accompanied Maria was not only the worst of the last 60 years, but has become much more likely to happen again. As you warm the planet, you're warming the sea surface temperature. Your warm water fuels cyclones, hurricanes, typhoons, whatever you want to call them. More energy input. More energy output. You're going to have more and more devastating storms. Global warming allows the atmosphere to hold more moisture. The water gets warmer. A lot of that moisture goes into the atmosphere. And there you go, you have a nice strong storm. This study that their findings was reported in the journal Geophysical Research Letters, and one of the authors, David Keeling of the University of Alabama, states, Maria is more extreme in its precipitation than anything else the island has ever seen. I just didn't expect there was going to be so much more than anything else that has happened in the last 60 years. Translation. The strength of Maria surprised the hell out of me. Basically what Dr. Keeling is saying here. So, warming temperatures can lead to thinning or dissipating clouds, which affects precipitation patterns. Organisms that prefer a moist habitat are going to be affected. Take amphibians, right? They have moist skin. Their skins dry out, they die. So they need moist skins. They need moisture, because a lot of times, they don't not only drink water, but they absorb water through their skin for their metabolic needs. They will be adversely affected. And amphibians are already in a perilous state worldwide. They don't need this. So if these things continue, there are going to be drastic changes in the kinds of ecosystems that are found. What happens to these ecosystems? There's another thing to take into account. Yes, there's the trees, the vegetation may move up a hill, increase in altitude. There's also a latitudinal increase. For example, as the tundra thaws, well, now you got the shrubs and you got other vegetation, shrub vegetation that can move further north. Because the soils thaw out, the ground is thawed out to greater depths, which is, these plants needed, they have deeper root system, so they can now extend their roots into what was once frozen ground into now thawed out ground. So we have that issue as well. That's kind of separate. It's related to what's happening with, the same idea, plants going up in altitude as plants going up in latitude. But if you start losing these clouds are nothing but water vapor. Where's the precipitation going to come from? That's going to affect organisms. That's going to affect the water budget. It's going to affect the ecosystem, etc. The ramifications are tremendous. So, yet another consequence of what's happening, what's coming down the pipe. Thank you for your time. Hey folks, this is Jim here reminding you to please subscribe to my channel and please share my videos with others. Also remember to click the bell so that you know when I drop in a new video. I also ask that you please consider becoming a patron of my channel and support the work that I do by going to patreon.com/Science Talk with Jim Massa, each word separated by an underscore, and becoming a patron. It's asking for as little as $3 a month, cost of a cup of coffee, to support the work I do and keep my informative videos coming your way. Thank you for your support.